This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Baker. I'm going to be leading the presentation this morning. It's my intention to introduce you to who we are as the Answer Company, who Acumatica is from a corporate and technology perspective, and then really spend the majority of our time in the Construction Edition software. I'll cover off general navigation, work groups, dashboards, as well as go into the core tenets of the Construction Edition and budget management, commitment management, change order management, and contract management. And then we can talk about next steps to support you in your investigation. So the Answer Company, I've been in business for 27 years, Canadian head office in Vancouver with offices in Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Portland, Oregon. We have over 2,300 clients and 140 team members. We give back into the communities in which we serve, having delivered over 25,000 hours since 2015 when we set up the Corporate Social Responsibility Program. We continue to manage, grow at a managed growth rate of 15% annually, and we are the #1 partner for Acumatica within Canada. A year ago, March 31st, 2021, the Answer Company acquired Constructive Solutions. Prior to the acquisition, Constructive Solutions was solely focused on the construction and real estate industry within Canada. And over the previous 23 years that we were in business, we had amassed over 750 construction focused clients across Canada, which we serve and support on an ongoing basis. All of the employees within Constructive Solutions became employees of the Answer Company. And so we are a division, but certainly we take advantage of all the strength and size and scalability that the Answer Company brings to the table. The Answer Company is recognized as a great place to work, best place to work, Small Business of the Year in 2020. They continue to thrive through COVID and grow the business. We're a gold certified partner with Acumatica, and we are also in the President's Club. I mentioned corporate social responsibility. Since 2015, in the creation of the CSR program, we've donated over 25,000 hours back into the communities in which we serve. As an employee, I'm encouraged to select charities of my choice, where I go and give 4 days per year, in addition to partnering. With the company partners with certain charities in which I'm expected to give an additional 4 days. So when you look at 140 employees at 8 days over the course of the year, it's like having 3.5 full-time employees giving back into the communities in which we serve. Some of the, again, we work with charities in each of the communities across Canada where we work. This is just a sprinkling. Some are national, some are regional, like the food bank. Or World Vision is more of a national, as Habitat or the Canadian Cancer Society. And not only do we give time, but we also negotiate on some of the nonprofits that we work with the publishers that we deal with, to get them software at no cost. And we go in and configure the software and train the users on how to use it to grow and run their nonprofit organizations. We're a full service systems integrator. We help customers in their buying cycle with the selection of software. Should you decide to proceed with the Answer Company, we're there every step of the way to get you implemented, from planning and piloting and configuration of the software, training you on how to use it, converting your existing data for import into the existing solution to meet your go-forward reporting requirements. We have a full development team. Acumatica is a customization framework, and so we can really tailor solutions. There's a lot of out-of-the-box features which I'll highlight today, but you can also tailor and customize the solution, and we have a team of developers to help you with that. Our exposure to those 750 clients across Canada gives us visibility into best practices. So if you're looking to improve the way your company runs, not only get new software, but really look at the policies and procedures under which you operate to mitigate your risk and drive profitability and growth, we can help with that as well. And we also offer full managed services for some of our legacy-based platforms, right down to the desktop and serving that up. Obviously, Acumatica is a cloud-based software, so it's all bundled into this solution. So Acumatica is one of the publishers in our portfolio. They're based in Seattle, Washington, head office. They're ex-Microsoft people who didn't think that Microsoft was necessarily moving to the cloud fast enough for their ERP solution, so they spun up what is today Acumatica. So head office in Seattle. The developers, there's 40 or 50 developers in Montreal. Mexico City is a large development center, as is Moscow. The support and services are based out of Columbus, Ohio. And we were acquired in 2019 by EQT Partners, an equity fund with over $42 billion under management. So we're well funded Acumatica is well funded to accelerate its growth. By the numbers, they have over 8,000 customers. They continue to grow at a very rapid pace at 550 employees, 480 of which are in R&D. And they don't sell their product direct, they go through a channel of resellers. So the Answer Company is the #1 Acumatica partner. And we're also the largest construction focused partner in Canada. Acumatica is consistently ranked highest in usability. It has a very modern user interface with easy search. And so Nucleus Research, G2, Software Reviews, and Gartner Peer Insights are online software rating agencies. And so you can go and find firsthand, testimonials from customers on their concerns about the platforms as well as the strength of those platforms. But we're often recognized as a leader in many different categories. The solution that we're talking about today is anywhere, anytime, on any device. So no matter where you are, and I'll highlight the mobile interface, but in 2009, when they started, everybody was walking around with a cell phone in their hand. And so everything that's been designed within Acumatica is available on the mobile, but any browser. The license have small business edition, but the majority of what we sell is unlimited. It's a construction advanced edition. They believe that the more people that are in the software, the more on the same page you're going to be, and the more productive you're going to be. So typically a modern unlimited licensing model. Included in the annual subscription is access to Acumatica's Open University. These modern software as a service subscription platforms are very transparent. So there's a whole series of learning paths. There's many different videos that you can record and view at your pace. You can become certified within the Acumatica platform. So that's what you can learn. Obviously, we use these in support. It's the Answer Company's responsibility to understand your business, to configure the software, to take you through a piloting and testing software, and to support you, to organize the data from your existing systems, bring that in, and support you in your go live of the solution. The XRP platform, I think, is really what defines Acumatica as a modern technology stack. They were first to cloud into the construction space. Back in 2008, when they formed the group, they took a chance on some tools, HTML5, .NET Framework, and Visual Studio. Those tools have become the tools of choice when developing these cloud-based ERP solutions. All of your data is hosted in Canada on Amazon Web Services, is our public cloud partner. And we also have private cloud solutions and options. The platform has been developed with Microsoft SQL as a data, which is very scalable and high performance and very secure. As I mentioned, everything extends out to the mobile device. There's no limit to the number of companies, no limit to, there's full intercompany accounting, multi-currency. So it can meet many different demands. The Canadian localized version has an English and French, but it's also available in Spanish. The software is. It's all ready for the Canadian construction marketplace, so GST, HST, PST, QST ready, EFT ready with all the Canadian banks. It manages T50 18s and meets the CRA upstream reporting requirements. Acumatica is a full document management solution, so I can attach records, I can check those records in and out, I can make revisions to those documents, and they're all housed natively within the Acumatica offering. These workflows and APIs, so natively within Acumatica, you can create workflows, and these workflows are based on your business rules, and they can be around what happens when we set up a job, what happens when we issue a PO or a subcontract, what happens and what approvals do we want to put in place when an AP invoice comes in the door. So again, and then these web service APIs allow us to create these application interfaces with a number of different construction point solutions, which is the more modern approach to deploying software within your group. I mentioned it is a customization framework, so if there's features within the software that it does not have, we can create those and build those out, and it's supported on any browser, whether it's Mac or PC. When they initially came to market, they started off with a core set of financials and CRM and had success in that space, and then identified distribution and manufacturing as the verticals that they next wanted to go after. So they needed to build out an order management and an inventory control system, and frankly, a field services application to meet the warranty requirements of manufacturers and distributors. In 2016, they identified construction as a target vertical that they wanted to go after, and they started building out the Construction Edition to handle, projects and entering budgets and issuing POs and subcontracts, to doing all the change order management, handle all the contract billings for construction. So whether it's progress or fixed fee or lump sum or unit base, all of those billing relationships can be managed natively within Acumatica. And for those specialty subcontractors, we have a full work order management solution that can roll up into Projects Construction Edition. Service APIs allow us to create seamless integrations with a variety of different point solutions that are relevant to the construction industry. So many of our clients also use Procore in an integrated fashion. So operations might stay over in Procore, and the accounting team, the project accounting team, spends its time in Acumatica, and we have integrations that move data back and forth. But Procore, ProEst is a cloud-based estimating solution. Smartsheet is the scheduling software. We've got HR solutions that tie in, Office 365 and Power BI business solutions. So there's a whole community of independent software vendors that have created integrations back into Acumatica that are available. But Smartsheet, ProEst, Procore, these are all software as a service, cloud-based construction-specific solutions out in the market space. And again, we have integrations to many of those. Same with ADP and payroll services, property management. So there's a number of different products in the market that we seamlessly integrate with. Any questions on either Acumatica or who the answer company is before we move into the product demonstration?
Patrick, one question I saw here was about payroll. Do you have any information on Canadian payroll?
I do. So Acumatica, they released their US payroll in January of 2020, and they've been working to get that deployed. It's successfully been deployed, and they have many clients using the US-based payroll. They were scheduled to have a Canadian payroll available in the June timeframe of 2022, and we'd be bringing clients live in the January 2023 timeframe. I understand from product management that that's just been extended, and the Canadian payroll will be available in March of 2023 with the release of 2023 R1. So Acumatica, as I'll discuss, we can capture time, we can code that time to a job and against a cost code and a cost type. We can then take that time that's been captured and coded through an approval process. We can burden that time. So when Tom works on a job, we know Tom's fully burdened rate is $58 an hour. So every hour that Tom works on that job against those cost codes, we can take through a burden process through a rate table process to get a representation of the cost on the job. Then we would feed a payroll service. So there's a number of payroll solutions, the Criterion for one that's full Canadian ready. It's an HR solution as well. So there's payroll solutions, a number of payroll solutions that Acumatica would produce a file that would be consumed by the payroll service. They do the gross to net calculation, pay the employees, and then those actual costs would be brought back into Acumatica to offset the accruals that we would create. So again, we're not going to have a Canadian payroll within Acumatica natively until mid-2023. I hope that addresses that question and positions the Canadian payroll within Acumatica. Okay, so from a product standpoint, I'm opening up another browser. When I bring up that browser, I'm going to navigate to our Constructive Solutions Acumatica instance. This isn't in the production we're hosting this natively to support our testing and demonstration requirements. It is not being hosted in Amazon Web Services, which produces a higher performance, but our performance is pretty good. I just thought I'd set the table there. So I've entered my username and my password, and that's really going to drive where I can go, what I can see, and what I can do within the software. It opens up so it knows who I am. It tells me which company I'm in. I'm on a project overview dashboard now. So there's a number of different dashboard types that ship with the software, and I'll cover off some of those later. But this might be for an owner or a manager or a VP of operations or someone who wants to see across all jobs. We have more specific dashboards that are relevant to the project manager or to a controller or to an AP clerk or a billings clerk. But this one is a project overview dashboard. And so it has a series of different widgets that I'll pop through here in a moment. On the left-hand side are what we call work groups. So these are applications that you can acquire as a part. So if you have an inventory need, we have fully integrated inventory. If you're looking for a work order management solution, purchasing. So these are different work groups, and within those work groups, we have different tasks and things that we perform. So things that we set up, things that we do. You can create within these work groups, you can create tiles for commonly used tasks. I have full control over the menus to show less or more tasks within a work group. And then I can also identify certain favorites that group into one central area across all of the different work groups that we have. I'll come back there in a moment. I'll go back to that main overview dashboard by drilling down into the logo up in the top left corner. It'll bring me back to my home dashboard. So here I'm looking at cost by project, one line per job. I'm looking at my revised estimate. So an original plus changes to a revised estimate, my cost to date. So those costs that have come in from AP or costs that have come in through the time capture and been burdened against the job. I have my open committed costs. So those are POs and subcontracts that we've issued, but maybe haven't been invoiced against. And then I can drive a remaining estimate and a % of that remaining estimate. Down here, I have a change order log across all of the jobs. I can see my remaining estimate by project, so we can bring in graphs or we can bring in charts, as well as inquiries and reports. You can embed things like web pages. So if there's a job site cam, here's my contract status by project. So when we set up a job, we set up the contract to define the billing relationship with the customer. Here I have an original contract plus approved changes to a revised contract that I can be progressing down against. But again, we handle cost plus and time and material, lump sum, unit-based, all the different, construction-based contract types natively within Acumatica. If we're wanting to share profit information, we're tracking everything within the system. So at one line per job, I can see my revised contract, my revised estimate, and what my anticipated profit is, and a % driven by that. We have the ability to bring Excel look and feel pivot tables natively into our dashboards. So this one's looking at a job and it's tracking my budget amount, revised budget amount, committed amount, actuals, Here I get into a variance and I can do some forecasting, cost to complete or cost at complete within the system. And again, up in construction, I can do my budget forecasts and my cost projections, taking and spreading those costs over periods of time, the remaining period of the job. I'll pop back to that dashboard. So I was down below looking at our, our gross profit and the pivot table information. You can embed additional web pages. Here's one on the constructive solutions. But I have given my security, I have the ability to go in and make changes to these dashboards, and I could add in additional components. So if I want to add a new widget to my dashboard, I can bring in a chart or a data table or the embedded web page like the job site cam or the constructive solutions web page. I can bring in KPIs if there's, we work with customers to set margin targets and cost targets on particular projects, and we can track against those KPIs, or number of days that we want to have an AP invoice in the approval process, days to receipt of cash, things along those lines. We can bring in pivot tables. We have an integration directly with Power BI to bring in BI tiles that allow us to drill down into the data. We also have a full wiki page system natively within Acumatica. So a lot of our clients like to create procedural documentation by role within their company of how they interact with Acumatica. Once we create those wiki pages within the system, they're all available through the global search. So I'll cancel out of here. I'll save that design, and I might go to a couple of other dashboards. So again, I'm in the work group of dashboards, but we have dashboards for project managers. So this one's a little different than the last one. It's more user specific to that end user, and it's more about the projects that they're managing and the tasks that they're managing natively within the system. I thought that was going to spin up. Here it is. So here's my active projects and overdue budget projects, my tasks, my overdue tasks, my items of ball in court, so whether these are issues or RFIs, my items waiting to be approved that would have been through, that would have come through a workflow that we created, and these items waiting approval are specific to this project manager. My change order log, my project issues. So again, more user specific than that project overview dashboard. And again, we get to control the colors and the warnings all through the design. If I pop back to that main, I might go to dashboards and I might go into a controller dashboard. So again, what information does a financial controller require or want to have access to? So cash required within 30 or 60 days, cash expected, overdue customers, overdue payments, payments on hold. I can drill down into any of these widgets to get directly into the grid and the inquiry that was underlying those. So here in any of the grids on these inquiries, I get to control which columns I want to see and the order of those columns that I want to see. So if I wanted to do my greater due in less than 30 days and I want to move that up, I can do so, and it'll change the order of my columns. I can also just drag and drop these. So my 30 days is here. I can move that back if I so choose. I can sort on any of these columns. So if I want to sort in ascending or descending order, or if I want to look for a particular dollar amount in any of these grids, I can do so. I'll cancel out of there. We can also put on filters, and filters can be saved, and those can be your defaults as you come into inquiries. All records. So that was a dashboard. Whereas if I get into a dashboard for an accounts payable clerk, I'm going to be looking at, bills to approve, bills to pay, bills to process, vendor payment hold, some cash flow positioning, vendor purchasing trends. Again, different dashboards based on your role and responsibility. Pop back up to the main project overview dashboard. So I talked about the work groups. So within each of these work groups, there's different tasks that one performs. We've grouped them together. So within the construction, I set up projects. I enter budgets. I lock those budgets down and I use our change order management to make changes to those. So whether we have potential change orders and those get approved into owner change orders. And these potential change orders and owner change orders impact our original to revised budget, as well as when I get an approved change order, if there's a revenue component, I can add that onto my contract. We do our pro forma and progress invoicing out of here. We issue subcontracts within the construction edition. And then there's reports and inquiries that we have that are a part of the construction application. In project management, you know, we have a concept of project issues, and you can have classification of issues. So I can have safety issues or I can have deficiency issues. Those issues can be escalated into requests for information. And then those requests for information can flow right into potential change orders and owner change orders. Further within the project management, we have daily field reports. And again, this extends out to all of your staff, no matter where they are and what their role and responsibility is. We have full drawing management support, photo log, shop drawing management. You know, we have a full procurement. So depending on the sophistication of your group, we can have people who initiate requests that can be organized into requisitions that can be flowed through to a central purchaser who puts those onto purchase orders. Or we can just initiate a purchase order if the person has the right the authorization. We can receive against those purchase orders and flip that receipt into an invoice. We can purchase to inventory and manage multiple warehouses, whether it's truck warehouses for your service department, or you know, so there's or different warehouses that you'd have in your branches. So very strong and robust inventory management. I mentioned time and expense. We allow you employees or crew foremen to enter time, and then we can take that time through an approval process. And we do expense receipts and expense claims. And again, that flows out to my mobile interface. I was here. I think I need to do this again. Cancel. Let me bring up my mobile quickly. So again, time and expense management. So I've gone through most of these. I noted that 7.1. Let's get that up. I mentioned that within each of these groups, you can create favorites, and those gold stars are all located in one central location. Now what I need to do is open up the application. I'm just launching my Acumatica mobile device. I can never remember the password on this. So right now I'm loading my password into my Acumatica mobile device, which can be in the hand of all of your employees. I just got to remember what my password is. I always swear. Too many passwords. I'm getting too old. Anyways, I'll work on this and hopefully I'll be able to bring up my mobile in a moment. Sorry about that. One of these. Okay, it looks like I found it. So here within the mobile device, you have you know, all of the different tasks that you can perform within the project management application or within the construction edition become available. You can look at the same dashboards. I think this is bringing up. So if I was going to be doing expense receipts or expense claims, I can have approvals. Again, all of the approvals that have been in the system, whether they're AP invoices or subcontracts or POs that are awaiting my approvals, I can access and approve in the mobile environment. If you use our CRM, there's going to be more leads and opportunities and contact management. As an employee, I could come in and enter my time. Again, I can complete daily field reports or add photos to the photo logs or create a project issue or an RFI natively within here. I can create a potential change order or an owner change order, initiate a purchase order. So anything you can do within the web base, you can also do within the mobile. So I just thought I'd hit on that briefly. So if I went into approvals, all of the items that are awaiting my approval on my dashboard would also be sitting here. I'm in a different database, so the mobile connects to a different database, so it's a little different, but so that's the mobile interface. I thought what I'd do now is jump down into a project. So here I have I went back to my home dashboard and I want to pop into Burnaby Business Park. Any questions while we're moving through here?
Nothing in the chat, Patrick. Quiet group so far.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So I drill down into Burnaby Business Park and it spins up. I can control whether it replaces that dashboard or it creates a new window. So now I'm in a particular project. I think Acumatica has done an awesome job of putting everything that you need to manage this project in one central area. So within I'm on the summary page. So again, when I set up a project, we can create what are called templates. And so the templates can be, they can say, are we going to use our change order workflow? They can get down to defining which of the cost budget items, what cost codes you want to bring into this project, or what schedule of value revenue line items do I want to bring into the project. So again, when I'm over setting up a project, we have the concept of a task, so a job within a job. But I can get start date, end dates. I can identify who the project manager or project coordinator is. So this comes under my fold and incorporates when I send an AP invoice through to this job, it'll route through and know who the project manager or project coordinator is. I spoke of multi-currency, so you can have a company in a currency. You can have a project in a currency. You could issue a PO in a currency. I can enter an AP invoice in a currency. I can invoice my customer in a currency. So again, a Canadian-based company could have a US-based project and we're buying euro materials through a PO, entering euro invoices and wanting to invoice our customer in US dollars. So, and it manages all of those currencies for you. Down below, we talk about what type of contract is it and what invoice format do we want to use? What are the terms? What job site? So when I'm issuing a PO, it's going to know where to ship those materials. And again, from here, these are all, again, the different tasks and activities that I can do, but I can create project templates from this job. And that would become a common template that I could draw upon later on. So here, I have the cost budget. So again, for the job number is user definable, the cost code structure is user definable, but we have a job, then we have a job within a job, which might be a task or a sub job, cost codes, and then cost type. But here you can see I'm looking at my original budget. Changes to that original budget that I used, that I made through my change management to a revised budget. I can see original or committed amounts, so those POs and subcontracts that I've issued. I can see this one has quantities, but I can see the actual amount, variance amount, and the cost at complete. I mentioned being when you're in these grids, you get to control the order of the grid. If I want to take out an actual quantity, because it's not relevant to that, I can say okay, and it'll remove that quantity for me. I can always do best fit to take advantage of the screen. Even though this data is being hosted in the cloud, I can download whatever grids I'm in to my local machine. I can then, it'll spin up an Excel worksheet for me, and it will, so it'll bring up that Excel worksheet, I think, and it'll spin up that Excel spreadsheet for me of the data I was just looking at. I can then enable that data, and I can start saving this as my April 7th. I'm in Excel now. So again, even though the data resides in the cloud, I can start bringing that data down into here for reporting purposes. And that's in any of the grids that are within Acumatica. Further, I can upload. So if we want to upload a budget, if you're doing your Excel, if you're doing your estimating in Excel, I can go and search for a file and it'll populate my grid for me and bring in my original budget, which will then lock down. So again, a lot of the grids have these out to Excel or upload, right? I mentioned, in this particular database, we set up tasks to align to our schedule of value contract line items that that the customer wants us to bill in. So here I have my general conditions and site work and concrete, right? So when I look at my revenue budget, here's the schedule of value that we're going to be billing this customer. Here are those original contract items, and now we can go through and progress down against. So by using the tasks to align to our revenue line items, it allows us to look at our cost budget and see how our costs are tracking against those schedule aligned values to tell us what our actual amounts are to help us with our progress type contracts. You note over in the revenue budget, I had my original schedule of values, and then you can see all of my change orders that have been approved come onto the contract, and I can start progressing down against those. So I'm in my revenue budget. I can come and I can put in what I'd like to invoice, what % complete I believe we are, or I want to bill, or what the actual amount is, the pending invoice amount that I want to invoice on this job. And then I can come and run my project billings. It'll produce a draft, which I can then send to my customer, right? So I have my revenue schedule of value line items. I can order the columns that I want to see here. When we set up a contract, we define the holdback, the retained amount. So it manages all the holdback on our revenue. It also manages all the holdback on the subcontracts that we issue. So another tab, so I have my revenue tab, I have my cost budget tab, which I can group or expand. In my balances tab, I can see how we're tracking on this job at any given time. So here's the revenue, so original plus any changes to a revised contract. I can see what my costs are and how those are breaking out against my cost types. And I can be tracking how this project is doing. If I come into commitments, this is a breakout of every PO and subcontract that I've issued on this job. So again, I'm over on a cost budget. If I want to go in and look at my actual labor cost, I can view the transactions and drill down into what my labor for coordination is on this particular project. It'll bring me to that transactional detail. And I can see that we had, labor against this job and against these cost codes, these quantities, I could at a unit rate. So this is the burden rate, right, that we took and applied to that labor to give us an actual cost. And this is where it flows to within the GL. So the job, we have a true job cost subledger. So the job or the cost code or the category can really drive where the costs flow to in the GL. But this is how I'm getting, these hours were captured and coded to this job against these cost codes. They were taken through an approval process, and they would then applied against a burden rate table for these types of labor to give me an actual amount. I'll close out of there. And so on any of these cost line items, I can drill down into those cost line items, right? So I could come down into, say, cost code. If I'm on a different one, I can drill down into other costs that are here. If I go down into, say, I want to go and look at some material costs that are associated with a particular cost type, I could drill down and get more detail, or I could view a commitment. So is there a subcontract that's related to that, right? So I can view commitment detail on this particular cost code to see there's been a PO that was issued. So now, and it was issued against this job. So I can drill down into the PO from here, and it'll tell me what I purchased from this vendor. So we produce what is the PO that you can send to your vendor, right? So we're buying this material against this job. Here's the quantities, the unit of measure, the unit price, and the amount, right? So we produce this, just a report. We can make it look any way you like. So you'll note that that was attached. Whoops, I'll just pop here, get back to there. These were attachments that were associated with the PO. So I'm on a purchase order. I have attachments. These attachments are throughout the system. But if I want to come in here and I want to look at some PO history, so maybe back on the details, I can order materials to a common job but across multiple cost codes. And again, when I get an AP invoice back in, it's going to be managing to ensure that I'm not entering more than the quantity that I ordered or at the unit rate that I negotiated with the vendor. If I want to go and look at PO history, here's a list of the invoices that have been entered against this against this PO and how they were distributed. So, you know, invoice 95963 was coded against here, and I received 24.5 units, tons of rebar at a unit rate, right? So up here, I can see, you know, if I can attach things like a copy of the invoice and the PO that was related, and I can get a date and timestamp. If you're using our approval or paperless AP approval, I can see when was this acquired and when was it entered and when was it approved and reviewed, right? All of this sitting at the invoice level detail as I'm navigating through the software. So I'll pop back to that invoice. So some attachments there. If I go to the financial details on this AP invoice, you know, I can see where it was actually coded into the general ledger. So it went to accounts payable and cost of sales material. But again, this is all user definable in the cost code structure and the cost type structure. So I'll back out of here, get some of these. You know, I talked about invoices. We produce what are the progress invoice for your customer. So here I've got, this is what we invoiced this particular customer on this draw, right? So up here I have the files attached, and I can go look at what that invoice, the invoice that we sent to the customer. So here it's the contract amount. This is cost to complete, less previous. So this is our first billing, the holdback, what taxes need to be added on, what AR are we going to be tracking over in our contracts. And then here's the substantiation of that bill, saying how much and what percentage we're drawing down on each of those contract line items. So the system will manage all of this for you. You know, that's over in invoices. Here's a list of every potential change order with statuses. Here's all the approved change orders that have been approved. And again, those approved change orders come down under our contract. You know, in general, when we talk about, so those are the tabs, and it's easy to find all of this information around this job. And if I want to move to my next job, I can go through and I get all of the same details for the next job that I'm managing. You know, I think when we talk about intuitive design, all you have to do is know how to type within Acumatica. When I start typing in bill, it'll bring up every menu item that has billing. So whether I'm going to run my project billings, whether I'm going to bill an expense claim, whether I'm going to enter an AP invoice, which is a bill, or I want to see bills pending approval in my payables, right? So it has all of the menu items that I can then navigate to. It also brings up all the help. So whether or not I'm looking to, you know, set up billing rate tables or run my project billings from time and material or progress type billings, right? Whether or not I want to find a particular bill. You know, a vendor calls in and wants to know the status of their invoice. All I need to do is 95963 is know that invoice number. If I know that invoice number, and 96953, I think that's wrong. 95963. It'll bring up that, once I figure out what the invoice number is, it'll bring up that transaction for me. And I can drill right down to that AP invoice and then find out the information and the status on that invoice. So the help is very powerful and really allows you to navigate easily within the system. Another great feature, it has a recent history of everywhere I've gone within the system. So somebody comes up and asks you, hey, could you look this up for me or get me that report? Well, I can immediately after completing that task, go back to exactly where I was. It has a full history of everywhere I was within the system. So if I want to jump back to that project record, it'll easily take me right there. So I'm back in that project. Any questions about what I've shown so far?
I don't see any questions in the chat, Patrick. I think we asked for 45 minutes today, so just want to be cognizant of time.
Great. Well, if I just pop back to the deck in my other tab, thanks a lot for your time today. Hopefully I was able to provide you with a better understanding of who we are as the Answer Company, who Acumatica is, and an overview of their construction edition. We will follow up with each of you by the end of this week to define the next steps to support you in your investigation, which typically would be to complete a more detailed discovery on what you're using today and what your prioritized requirements are, schedule a more tailored online demonstration for your group, shape out the investment, and then provide some references before getting started on the implementation.